No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. We're going to be talking about Social Security. We're finishing up our program from last week. One of the things that we hit on was baby boomers. One of the things, because of course baby boomers are getting real close, right? Some are in retirement, some are already collecting Social Security. Many are approaching that age at which they will be. And these are some of the questions that baby boomers want to know and that we're going to address today. Will Social Security be there for me? And this is not only for baby boomers, and for those younger, of course, even more so. It's a big concern. So we're talking about that. How much can I expect to receive? How does that work? How do you get, how do you earn enough to get Social Security benefits, and how much will you get when you get Social Security? And that's going to be a lot to do, of course, with when you start taking, whether at age 62 or at some later point, your full retirement age, and we'll talk about that, or delaying maybe even to age 70. When should you apply for Social Security? Same question, right? Goes into those times of what the ages are in which you qualify. How can you maximize your benefits? This is a big one, right? When we think that the Social Security benefits could be worth literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you were going to get $2,000 a month as an example, and you live 10 years into it, just 10 years collecting that amount, and you calculate in the cost of living increases and everything else, you're talking over $300,000. All right. If you take that same for 20 years, it would be like $650,000. And if you live 30 years in retirement collecting Social Security, you're talking over $1 million over your lifetime. The decisions you make when it comes to Social Security are critical. And we're going to talk about not only the importance, as I've just alluded to, but also how to arrive at the right answer for your specific situation. Will Social Security be enough to live on in retirement? This is another one. According to the Social Security Administration, Social Security makes up about maybe 40% of most people's living expense needs, if you will, in retirement. Only 40%. That means the other 60% you have to have other sources for. If you've got a pension, maybe that'll help. If not a pension, are you really feeding into that 401k or a portfolio, some other type of investments to save up money so that you can pull that money out in retirement? Or maybe you intend to work in retirement. It's another thing. Rental properties, another good investment that can help with income. So there's all these different sources. And this, again, when it comes to planning for your retirement, is making sure you're going to have enough to maintain your standard of living and quality of life no matter how long you live. And this is what we're going to talk about when it comes to Social Security. Now, a lot of this I covered last week, so I'm going to kind of quickly go through that with you just as a recap. One is understanding the value. As I said, it can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe $1 million or more to you over your lifetime, especially for a couple. This is something you want to consider when it comes to making this decision. This is the other part. Once you decide, there's no do-overs. You can't change your mind. You can't, you can't go back 2 or 3 years later and say, oh, I want to, take it now. I took it too early. Let me change that. It's too late. And this is another area when we sometimes can get in. I've had people come into my office, new clients, and they were thinking, and maybe they retired a little early and now they're concerned about running out of money, and we're looking to employ strategies around how to make sure that doesn't happen. The Social Security piece, though, is already locked in. So we can do things like help minimize taxes. We can do, of course, a lot when it comes to your other assets and how to maximize the benefits of those, and again, minimizing taxes on those as well. So the first one, will Social Security be there for me? And this is, back in the 80s, this was one of the big things that people got into, was concerns about the validity or the long-term, if you will, prospects of Social Security. So they made some changes. They raised the retirement age. So if you think about it, back in 1935, when Social Security first went into effect, the average lifespan was like age 61. Okay, so most people, if you had to wait till 65, we're never going to ever see a check. But now, today, the average lifespan is about almost 30 years higher than that, 20 years higher than that, depending on male or female. It could be 20, it could be 25 years longer. So it's a huge difference in terms of how much longer we're living and the impact that's going to have with regard to our planning. So when it comes to Social Security, sometimes taking early, depending on your health situation and the rest, there's a lot of dynamics that go into that. It may or may not be the best decision. We're going to get into some of those pros and cons on that. When it comes to solvency, the same thing. They will, in fact, fix the system. And there are a number of things that they've talked about as a way to do that. One of them, for example, the way that Social Security works, it's the payroll taxes that we pay that go into the Social Security Administration, and those monies are used to pay out. So far, we're still being able to pay out more. We've had a year or two where this wasn't the case, but now we're back to where we're actually paying out more than we're taking in. If we increase jobs, more people paying in, that means there's more money then to cover the benefits, and that helps strengthen the Social Security system. The other part of that, when it comes to payroll taxes, they're talking about maybe eliminating the limit. I think it's around $118,000 now. So if you would make over $118,000, you would have you wouldn't have to pay into Social Security anymore. You'd still pay Medicare, but not Social Security. So that could change. All right, that's one of the changes they're talking about. They will have to make changes. They will, in fact. It's one of the biggest things going in our country that's not going to change. So they'll find a way to fix the system. All right. Bottom line, in particular for baby boomers, any changes made are most likely just like back in the 80s. The ages was, they changed from 65 up to 67, but that didn't affect people until much later. It didn't affect those that were near retirement at that time. All right, understanding how Social Security is calculated as well. You need about 10 years or 40 quarters of work, all right, to pay into the system before you would be eligible to receive anything out of the system. All right, that's one. The other qualifier is, and this is one of those, that the 35 years of earnings are average. Your top 35 years of earnings are average, and that means also adjusted for inflation, and that's how they determine what your benefit will be. The next is we're going to look at full retirement age, and let me go over, I'm just mentioning about when that is. So if you were born between 1943 and 1954, it's now 66. Those before 43, of course, they had a 65 age limit. So 1943 to 54, age 66 is your full retirement age. 1955, it's 66 in 2 months, 56, 66 in 4 months, and it gradually goes up to, if you were born at 1960 or later, it's age 67 would be your full retirement age. Now, what does that mean? Well, what it means is the amount of benefit that you're going to receive. So if you applied for benefits early at, say, age 62, you would only get 75% of what that benefit would be at, say, age 66, if that's for your full retirement age, or 70% of what you would receive at age 67. So you get a big reduction if you take early. Each year that goes by, that catches up. So from 75%, if you wait a year, you'd get 80% of that benefit. Wait another year, 86.7, another year, 93.3, and then at your full retirement age, of course, you'd get 100% of your benefit. And that's how that benefit, let's say if it was $2,000, in other words, that you were going to receive, and you took at your full retirement age at 66, let's say, then if you took it at 62, you'd only get $1,500 a month. That's a big difference. That's $6,000 a year. And again, when you calculate that out over a lifetime, in retirement, you could, be talking again hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's a big decision to be made, and it's going to vary according to the person. There's some different calculations that you're going to want to look at. Another thing, by the way, some people, if you've got longevity, I've got people coming in and their parents are in their 90s. There was one lady recently, her mother's 102. So most likely she's going to be around for a while, right? So in a situation like that, when you're looking at it, you can get delayed credits, and these delayed retirement credits amount to about 8% per year. So at age 66 now, that 100%, that $2,000, if you waited, you would get about $2,700 at age 70. Another consideration then in terms of when to take your Social Security. We're going to get into that and more today. I wanted to do this quick little recap, and then we're going to jump into picking up from where we left off last week. All of this is about how to maximize Social Security and how to understand how to do these calculations of Medicare and the healthcare costs and all the other parts that go in with retirement. We're going to get into that and more. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.
This is